Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today's video is one that I've kind of been on the fence about because I am first and foremost a sculptor. I make cute cartoon sculptures of animals, but my initial training as an artist was always a fine artist, a drawer, and a painter. So I really wanted to do this video, and I hope that you will find it useful because I truly believe that sketchbooks, keeping a sketchbook, will benefit every single artist, no matter what your chosen field is. Sketching, drawing, honing that talent, developing your ideas, I think is crucial for every artist development. So I'm going to tell you the reasons that I think it's important for every artist, what I've gained from it, and we're going to go ahead and flip through some of my sketchbooks. Something that I am not great at, that I'm going to improve on starting today, is finishing a sketchbook. I have so many unfinished sketchbooks. I think out of this whole stack, there's only one that is fully finished in here. So we're gonna flip through some of these. I'm not sure how many of these that we will get to in this video because I want to keep it to around 10 minutes. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started doing the sketchbook tour and talking about why I feel like sketching is important for every single artist on the planet. But before we do that, I want to show you some of the adorable sculptures that I recently made. This one is a recent favorite. I've been working on these Quillins, the Asian unicorn with scales, and I think that they are absolutely beautiful. This rainbow one is one of my favorites, and yeah, I just wanted to show those to you. I will be having a shop update soon. If you want to get a heads up on that, you can sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description box, and let's go ahead and get into the sketchbook tour. Okay, so here I have a pile of sketchbooks that I have been keeping for several years. We're going to start with what I think is kind of the earliest one and go from there. So the first one that I have in here is a Moleskine sketchbook that I was trying out. I had heard a lot and seen a lot of artists that really loved them, and I wanted to give it a shot too. However, I chose to start this Moleskine sketchbook during Inktober, and I quickly realized that the way that I draw with ballpoint pen and pressure doesn't really work that great with these very thin papers. So I only made it through a few pages of the sketchbook, and then you're going to see me try a couple of different types of sketchbooks to get to what I currently use and what my favorites are. So a lot of these sketchbooks in the beginning, you're going to see me sort of try different things. I'm trying to find a blend between realistic drawing and cartoon drawing to come up with more of a unique style. And by the end of the sketchbooks, you'll see me sort of settle into a pretty definitive, realistic style of sketching while still having a tiny bit of stylization in there too. So like most artists, I've been drawing from the time I could hold a pencil, and I don't even remember a time in my life where I have not been drawing. Even if I took some breaks, some that were kind of a long time, drawing is the foundation for all artists, and I think that one of the biggest benefits of drawing is that it helps you hone your observation skills. So something that we need to do as artists is translate what we see in front of us into the vision that we either have in our mind or what we want it to be, whether we want it to be realistic, stylized, cartoon, illustrative, whatever. So something that keeping a sketchbook routinely does for you, the more that you draw, the more that you're able to translate what you see in front of you to what you want your style to be, what you want your art to look like. So probably the number one thing that I think is a benefit for all artists who sketch routinely is that it does just that. It helps you really be able to get your observation skills down to a science and help that translate to your hand as you're actually making the sketch. Another thing that I think sketchbooks are really excellent for is keeping track of ideas. So most of the sketches that we're going to be looking through today are portraits of animals, some people, mostly horses, to be honest. Like, horses are my favorite subject. I draw them, I sculpt them the most. I am very familiar with their anatomy, and I love them. And a lot of times when I do my sketches, because this isn't work, this is more like an exercise, this is like a warm-up, this is something that I do to keep my skills up and to help me find new ideas, to feel inspiration. Most of these sketches were done pretty quickly, so some of them you'll see to be more successful than others. Sometimes I do get the anatomy wrong, but I never go back and erase in my sketch. I always just get everything down the first go, And that's why I prefer to use colored pencil and ink, because it doesn't allow you to erase. And so whatever you see down there is basically the first marks that I've made. And I think you'll see that my skills have improved over time. So I tried out this toned paper sketchbook because I really wanted to be able to use white pencils, and I love the look of full colored pencils on toned paper. This is one of my favorite sketches, by the way. Sorry to interrupt my talk. I'll try not to do that very often. But I love the look of a full palette of colored pencils on toned paper. I think it's just beautiful. But I very, very rarely will do those because they are so incredibly time consuming. And my sketching practice for me is, like I said, it's an exercise, it's a warm up, it's a way to keep my skills honed, and it's just for fun. So that's what I'm doing here too. You'll see the difference in the sketch just before this. I tried to do a little bit more of a cartoon version, and this one is definitely more realistic. And then back to more of a stylized cartoon type of wolf. Another thing that I really love about sketches, and why I think they're so important for all artists to do or to keep a sketchbook, is that it gives you a very safe, low pressure space to try new things. You know, even though I'm showing you all of the pages in my sketchbooks here, when I originally did these drawings, these sketches, I did not intend for anyone to see them. These were just for my eyes. So it felt like a really safe place for me to try new things, for me to make mistakes. I didn't feel hampered by that perfectionist tendencies that so many artists fall victim to, myself included, and especially in the time of social media, when pretty much if you want to be a successful artist, you have to have your work ready for public viewing kind of instantly. That's how social media works. I'm very grateful for social media. Without it, I would not be able to be an artist, a full-time artist. However, that does kind of add a burden of fear and pressure, because you are going into everything that you're creating with the idea that this has to be a finished piece. This has to be perfect. This has to be ready to put in front of however many followers that you have, whether that's a few hundred, a few thousand, to 20, 60, 80,000, whatever you have. So the benefit of a sketchbook is it gives you a safe place to make mistakes, to screw up, and to not stress about it and let it just ruin your day. I mean, that's the idea anyways. Sometimes it's easier said than done. So another thing that I love about sketchbooks, and something that I think is really fun about this video specifically, is that you can see from like I said, so the first sketchbook in this video was probably from like 2017, 2018. And the one we finished with is my current sketchbook, which I started in October of 2021. So you can see, even just from that time, even though I didn't sketch every single day, you can see a big improvement in my skills and in my style. And that's so cool for artists to have that record. I think that's a really underrated good point that sketchbooks have, is that it allows you to have this visual record of your skills progressing. When it's hard to see your progress every single day, day by day, when you look back at a sketchbook that you completed a few years ago or even a few months ago, you can see you've really improved, and that can really bolster your self-confidence. It can help you really feel like continuing on in your art journey if maybe you're getting discouraged, and it's also just a good reference point to see how far you've improved and what you can still work on if you want to do that. Because I mean, artists should always be striving to improve and looking for things to work on in their work. Something else that I really, really love about sketchbooks, and why I feel like every artist should keep one, is that if for whatever reason, life reasons, mental health reasons, time, whatever, if for some reason you've fallen away from making art and you are really kind of having a hard time getting back into it, a sketchbook is a really great way to start, because you don't have to have a big investment. You can get a really cheap sketch pad and pencil, pen, whatever you have around your house. It is a relatively small time commitment. It just allows you to really enter into making art again at a low cost to you. Low cost in time, low cost in materials, low cost in effort. It's a great way to just get your foot back in the door and start to make art a habit again. Something else that sketches do that I kind of talked about earlier is that it doesn't take much time. Most of these sketches that you see in here are what I call warm-up sketches, and occasionally I go through periods of wanting to get in the habit of sketching every day. Through time, I've realized that's not really realistic for me, for health reasons, for time reasons. I literally cannot, I'm not physically able to sketch every day. But what I can do is sketch when I feel up to it and when I have time, because I know that it's not going to be an hour-long project. If I have 10 minutes, I set a 10-minute timer and I sketch and I see what I can get done in that amount of time. And almost always I have something that I'm proud of. I have something that I feel good about making, and I had a good time doing it, and I feel more inspired to get back into my art routine. I personally never take time off from making art. I'm a professional artist. This is my job, and so I'm always making art. But sketching is something that I consider to be just for me. It's very personal. It's something that I do more for fun and personal development, which does tie into my career. But I am more likely to put sketching on the backside, so the fact that sketching doesn't require a ton of time is a huge bonus for me, and I can see that being a big bonus for other people who are looking to make art more of a habit. Sketchbooks also really help you develop discipline. They help you develop the habit of making art. Once you start sketching and you start having a few pages pile up in there, you don't want it to stop. So having a sketchbook helps you build motivation, helps you build discipline into creating art every single day. And that's something that for all artists is pretty invaluable, as most artwork, at least in the beginning, if you're a hobbyist, most people start art because they love to. But eventually something happens with art, whether it's time, whether it's family commitments, job commitments, that makes it difficult to keep going. It's hard to fit it into your life. But if you can commit to a certain amount of time every day, like either right before, you start your day when you wake up, right before you go to bed, maybe on a lunch break, something like that, having that habit, it helps you build discipline and it helps you reach your goals, whatever they may be for your art life. I also really, really love how sketchbooks help you to stop being a perfectionist. Now, striving for perfection or striving for excellent work, I guess that's the right way to say it. Striving for really excellent work is a goal that all artists should have. We should always continually strive to get better, to make the best work that we possibly can. But with that mindset also comes the idea that we have to be perfect in every single thing that we make. And some of my favorite sketches in here, like this unicorn right here, I love so much about this sketch, but it's not perfect. And some of those imperfections are the things that I actually love about it. And that, I think, is what makes sketchbooks so appealing. That's why sketchbook tours on YouTube are kind of popular, is because people love seeing a glimpse behind the curtain and seeing an artist who they really admire some of their imperfections. And it helps you as the artist be able to embrace that more fully and understand that even if you've been an artist for decades, for many, many years, you can still struggle with this idea of perfectionism. And sometimes that can be enough, that struggle with perfectionism can be enough to stop people from making art. So just by that brave act of putting the pencil to paper every single day, being willing to make mistakes, it helps you break away from that perfectionist tendency, and it helps you make more art, and that in turn will help you make better art. So perfectionism is a vicious cycle that artists can fall into, and sketchbooks really help us to break out and break free of that mindset. It helps you become okay with failing. It helps you become okay with not being good at things. Because sketchbooks are, by their nature, largely experimental, there's going to be some things in here that don't work out. And so by always coming to the sketchbook with at least the frame of mind that even if you don't succeed, you're still going to do it, it helps you to be more comfortable with failing, which is essential when you're learning any new thing. You're going to fail at it, and you have to be okay with failing at it. You have to be okay with not being good at something. And a lot of these sketchbooks you'll see I have just a single colored pencil. Occasionally you'll see I'll switch out to ink drawings. Every Inktober I try to participate in that. I have for many years. I have yet to do an Inktober every single day, but I love doing it because it helps me get back into the habit of drawing, and it allows me to try a new medium that I usually don't do. My default sketching is a single colored pencil. I love Prismacolor pencils. Those are my favorite. But ink drawing is a completely different skill. I've had to learn how to handle the pen, how much pressure to use, how to form lines to create depth and shadow and value, and that was all pretty new to me until I started Inktober. So every single year that I start that, I have a little bit of anxiety because I'm like, I'm not as comfortable drawing with an ink pen as I am with a colored pencil. I'm probably going to be bad at this, but you know what? I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna do it anyway. So this sketch of this dog is one of my favorites. I really, really love the line work in there. I think that this was when I really had a good handle on how to use a ballpoint pen for sketching. Of course, you'll see that was the only sketch I did in that book, and then instead of carrying on, what I did was start brand new. So this one was my most recent sketchbook. I started this in October of 2021 for Inktober. This Siberian Husky is one of my favorites. I love all the different textures that I was able to get in there in the coat and the puff of air. This horse is a favorite of mine too. I did something different in this sketchbook where I did the underdrawing with a red colored pencil. This one was actually supposed to be a character from Squid Game, but I couldn't get the likeness right. I knew I didn't have it right, so I abandoned it. This one was just a sketch that I had seen on Pinterest of a man with some interesting tattoos. I thought it would be something different, and I had a good time drawing it. Now, this one is probably one of my favorite sketches of all time. I love the light in this. I love the line work. I love everything about it. I'm really proud of that sketch. And, of course, an adorable puppy. I don't know. I just love that little face, the dark nose, the dark eyes, the light fur. I love the lines that I was able to get in the fur. This one didn't quite work out. This one was supposed to be a sketch of a woman in profile with like a 1920s bob. Didn't like how it was turning out, abandoned it. And then here I came back to my beloved colored pencil with a wild Mustang stallion with all of his battle scars and ropey mane to prove it. I love that sketch so much. Just a quick little Shiba Inu. I thought he was a little adorable guy. Set my timer for 10 minutes and went to town. When it was done, I stopped. This one was just actually, I think this was after a piece of art that I had seen online, and I wanted to try that style out. And then the last sketch in here that I have is this adorable little pony with a braided mane. So this is going to be my current sketchbook. I have a few pages still to go to fill it up. I'm excited to get back to it. Hopefully I'll have this one finished sooner. I'm not going to abandon it for sure. That was a fun journey. Thank you so much for coming along, listening to me talk about the value of sketchbooks, going through these sketchbooks with me and seeing some drawings that I'm really proud of and some that really didn't work out quite so well. And yeah, I'm excited. I've got some new sketchbooks here. The ones that have one drawing in them, I'll definitely be going back to in them and continuing on. But yeah, those are my sketchbooks. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Here is my studio mascot, Cosmo. Thought I'd put a little bit of video in here so you could see him. He's my best buddy. He really loves hanging out with me in the studio, and he is a grade A kisser. Thanks so much for watching, my friends. I hope that you were able to find some value in what I had to say, and I hope that you enjoyed watching these sketches with me. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.